Hello, my name is Dr. Jessica Wallace McBride, and I've been asked to share some information with you about setting educational goals. Now, most of you have been told that you should or even have to go to college. That's great, that's fine. Go to college if you want to. Or more specifically, go to college if what you want to do professionally requires it. Want to be a teacher? You need a college degree. Go to college. Do you think you want to be a welder? Well, you're not going to earn a college degree, but you are going to need some training beyond high school. Okay. So even if you choose not to go to college, when you graduate from high school, you're not done with school. So if you don't like school, it's not quite over yet. Besides, on jobs, as you plan to advance, there's going to be professional learning that's required, professional development, training, and things like that. So you're always going to be learning. But as it relates to setting educational goals when you're coming out of high school, you need to decide what you want to do. If you're unsure, that is okay. That's why a lot of people go to college with an undeclared major because they're not sure what they want to do yet. If you're at a stage where you're still trying to figure that out, I suggest you take the ASVAB, which is an assessment that's going to show you what you're good at and what you're interested in. That's it. It's not a standardized test. You can't get it right or wrong. It's just one of those things that helps you evaluate your talent and your skill and your interest. So take the ASVAB if it's available to kind of determine which way you want to go. If you've determined that college is the best route for you, the best route for you to get to a career that will allow you to be successful, there are four things I encourage you to pay attention to once you are in college. Okay. Or four things you need to do. Okay. Pay attention to and do. One, when you get there, you've got to go to class. Now, the reason I say that is because in high school, they mark your attendance, they pay attention to it, they report it to your parents. They don't do that in college. So after the first week or two, for 98% of classes, when you don't show up, they don't say anything. You just fail. Okay. Now, there are some courses where you have to attend, and if you miss more than a certain number of days, you're going to be dropped from the class and so on and so forth. You don't want that to happen. Plan to go to class. You will have professors that say, I don't take attendance. Attendance doesn't count. It's not calculated into your grade. And you might feel like, yeah, okay, I don't have to come. It's especially dangerous when that same professor is teaching a class that you feel pretty strong in. You might say, well, I'm good at math, and the professor says I don't have to come. I feel like I can pass it without going at all or without going every day. It's not a good idea. You need to be present. Being present does a couple of things. One, it helps you set your routines. And two, if you make an effort, combine that with an effort to get to know your professors, it also opens you up to opportunities that they know about that you don't know about because they recognize you, they know you, they see the effort you're putting into class. And when opportunities come along that you might be able to take advantage of, they'll have you in mind. So that's the first thing I want to encourage you to do when you are going to college. Make sure you actually attend class. The second thing I encourage you to do is pay attention to your money. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have any money. Okay. But what often happens is because you've gotten scholarships or grants, or as a last resort, student loans, we'll talk about that in another video, you're probably going to get a net check. A net check is the amount of money you're given back after all of your expenses are paid for the semester. So within the first month of the semester or so, typically, you will get a net check. The amount of it is going to vary based on how much it costs to attend the school you go to and based on your other funding sources. When you initially get it, it feels like a lot. It may be more than you've ever had at one time, but you've got to be careful with it and you've got to budget it through the beginning of the following semester, not just through your current semester. So if you're in Florida, most times the fall semester is going to begin in August. You're going to get your net check sometime in September, more than likely. The new semester begins in January. So you might think, well, let me spread this out so that I'm covered through December because in January I'm getting more. No, You need to spread that money out so that it covers you through February. When school comes back in January, you're not going to get that net check on the first day. You're still going to need some money to carry you through the beginning of the first semester. Okay? So always budget into the first semester. The other thing that does is it takes a little pressure off your families, okay? Because if you don't do that, all of a sudden you're calling home for money and your family is still trying to financially support themselves or younger siblings or whatever else they have going on. They don't need someone else outside of the home who needs them, not because they just need them and they're trying to improve their lives, but who need them because they mismanage their money, okay? You don't need to be that person. The second thing I want you to keep in mind or focus on as you're going to college away from home is networking. Most of us move within our comfort zones. We don't reach out, we don't strike out. We don't try to get to know people who are not like us or whose interests are different than ours. I encourage you to change that in college because you have no idea what the people in college with you are going to be, who they're going to be, and how knowing them and them knowing you might help you in your career. You don't just need to kind of know them and kind of know their name. You need to make sure you have relationships with people, not just people who you think might be this or that or rich. It's not that. It's so that when they're in positions related to your career and they may be the one hiring, you'll at least be considered. They'll say, hey, I know that person. I remember them from college. I remember that they were a hard worker. I remember that he or she was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, and I just remember that they were positive. So make sure there's some positive association there. But you've got to network. You've got to network outside of your comfort zone. If you're away at school, you're literally there with people from all over the world, at the very least, from all over the country. Take advantage of that. The world is bigger than just what your life has been so far. And the reason you attend college, you attend a university, is to expose yourself to a universe of knowledge. And that's not just what happens in the classroom, that's through civic organizations and clubs and by networking with people who are unfamiliar to you otherwise. The fourth thing I'm going to encourage you to keep in mind, and this is the last one, is relationships. Relationships. Most people who drop out of college don't do so because the work is difficult. If you made it through high school and you developed some skills for learning, you can probably make it through college. They usually drop out because they haven't taken it seriously, not attending class, which was my first point, or because they allow personal relationships and other decisions in their personal or social lives to get in the way of their education. That doesn't need to be you. Most times you will meet your mate around this time in your life, but that's not required. It's not automatic. And if it doesn't happen at that time, it definitely doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It's just that right then you're in an environment with other people around your age who have similar goals, which is why you're in the same environment. But you have to manage relationships in such a way that they do not interfere with your real reason from being away from home, or even if you stayed at home, they don't interfere with your real reason for enrolling in college, and that is to earn the degree. So you have to manage those relationships very carefully. Some people meet their spouses in college, but I promise you, 99.9% of people, men, are not there looking for spouses. They're there to understand themselves, they're there to earn the degree. And if they kind of happen to trip up on somebody who would make a good wife or husband, God bless them. But that's not their primary goal. And there's nothing you can do to change that. So stay focused. This is not about convincing someone that you're awesome and they should be with you forever. This is about you earning a degree so that you can live the type of life you want because you're in a position to earn the type of money you want. So keep those four things in mind as you leave the home. Also know, away from academics, this is the time where you discover who you really are. While you're living at home, you're who your parents require you to be. But when you're away, when you go away to college, when you go away after college, you find out who you really are. Do you go to church because they make you, or because you really believe what's being taught there and understand the role of church in your life, the role of God in your life? Do you really believe those things, or have you just been made to do it? Do you really believe the things you've been taught about morals and how you're supposed to conduct yourself? Or have you just been doing that because your opportunities have been limited and people have been watching you, so you couldn't really do what you wanted to do? You're going to find out who you really are, and so will everybody else. Now, that's not to say bad things are going to happen. That's not to say that if you get a little off path, you'll never get back on, or, you're some bad person. That's not it at all. But you are going to decide, you're going to figure out who it is you really are. You're going to discover who it is you really are. And that's a part of the process. The wonderful, beautiful, great thing about college is not just that you earn the degree, and that's not even the reason I encourage many people to go. It's because you're on your path to adulthood at that point, not legal adulthood, like I'm 18. Mm-mm. Real adulthood, where you understand yourself, your place in the world, what you're supposed to do, and who you're going to be. So keep those four things in mind when you go to school. You want to attend class, you want to pay attention to your money, you want to network, and you want to make sure you're managing your personal relationships in a way that don't interfere with your goal. Do all of those things, chances are you'll be successful, and just allow yourself the room to grow, but keep in mind who you are and who God created you to be. I'm Dr. Jessica Wallace McBride. My website is www.drjessicawrites.com if you'd like more information. Be blessed.